Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our WebEx session. I am Kalman Makay from the channel team, and on today I will moderate our events. The WebEx session's topic is Insights into Carbon Black Cloud Capabilities. Our special guest and the presenter is Danny John, our dedicated Carbon Black product professional. He will guide you on today. And in the next 90 minutes on the presentation and on the console level, then he will share you the details of the planned topic. The event, as always, will be recorded, and later we will share the recording with you. If you have any question, then please use the chat window. And in the background, I discussed with Danny. So part of the dedicated Q&A session, we will give you an answer. Danny, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Kalman. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Danny, and I'm a senior solution engineer with MBCom Broadcom, looking at carbon black products. So today's agenda is going to be, we are going to deep dive into the carbon black cloud capabilities with some know-how on how things are working, with a very short demo as well towards the end. As Kalman mentioned, we will be noting down all the questions and would be answering it towards the end of the session. All right, so with your permission, I'm just going to start. I hope, Kalman, the screen is, you can see the sharing, right?
Yes, everything is fine.
All right.
We heard you and we see your screen. Yes.
Perfect. So before I jump into the Carbon Black Cloud, I want to give you a history of where Carbon Black started actually. So Carbon Black started way back in 2002. So it was called Bit9. Bit9 were the pioneers in application whitelisting technology. And Carbon Black acquired Bit9 in 2014. So Carbon Black were pioneers in EDR, endpoint detection and response. In 2016 is where a company called Confer was acquired by Carbon Black, and that is the current Carbon Black Cloud solution, which is a SaaS-based solution. So it actually came from Confer. And in 2016, Carbon Black went public, and in 2019, VMware acquired Carbon Black. And then you know the story. In 2023, Broadcom acquired VMware, and from 2024 onwards, Carbon Black Symantec are a combined product, and it's part of the enterprise security group of Broadcom. All right. Just to give you a very, very high level of what all products we have. So as I said earlier, there are two on-premise solutions. One is a whitelisting solution. So that came from Bit9, and then Carbon Black were pioneers on the EDR solution. So we already had it. And then the Carbon Black Cloud, which is the entire stack over here. So you see the entire stack. So we will be talking about all these core capabilities in this coming slide. And these solutions are very compatible with different flavors of operating system. And when you look at Carbon Black Cloud, it also has capability to integrate with the VMware environment, Azure, or name it, any kind of cloud environment. Yeah, so that's an entire overview of what all products what we have. So basically 3 solutions, 2 on-premise and a dedicated cloud solution. So Carbon Black, I want to quickly give you an architecture of especially the EU network. So whenever our customers, we provision it from the European data center, which is the closest proximity to us. So when we are coming into the architecture, so basically we have sensors which we have to install on the endpoints. Let that be a desktop computer or a server whatsoever. And then the management console is basically SaaS. So we have hosted it in the European region, so which is in Frankfurt. So the console access would be this. The sensors will be communicating this particular URL. So the whole idea is, since it's a SaaS environment, we just have to make sure that all these communication ports and URLs are just allowed on the customer's environment, and the agents or the sensors would rather start communicating to the Carbon Black Cloud. All right. So that is a very, very quick architecture. Now let's jump into some core capabilities. So we all know that traditional antivirus or any point controls, right? So if let that be an AV, traditional AV, which does not look into advanced threats, or let that be an event coming in and it doesn't have what you say, a correlation or the prevalence what we have. So if it cannot correlate the relationship between the events, then it does not make sense actually. So with Carbon Black, what we are doing is we are having a single agent and a single console. So we are thwarting attacks, billions of attacks every day, and we do have the threat intelligence coming from Carbon Black and Symantec as well. So as the combination, now we do have a combined reputation services coming in. So we know about bad stuff, and we are here to prevent attackers by who are using legitimate tools like living off a LAN kind of attack or anything. So when we are talking about, it's a pure endpoint protection platform, which is having an antivirus, device control, and multiple modules, which we'll be talking shortly, including EDR as well. So it is a single agent, single console with multiple capabilities, which also includes correlation of the event and actionable intelligence, basically. So when we come into Carbon Black Cloud, there are two flavors of Carbon Black Cloud we have. One is Carbon Black Cloud for endpoints, and another one is for workload. So you will see the difference in the coming slides, actually. So there are three sections over here which we have divided into. So risk identification, prevention, and extended detection and response. So under risk identification, there is a component called vulnerability management. So basically what it does is it will give you a risk-based vulnerability information on your endpoints, actually. So we don't do remediation. We can provide you vulnerability risk-based scores of any vulnerabilities existing in your environment. And then there is a component called audit and remediation. So audit and remediation basically can be broken into two things. One is live query, and another one is called live response. So live query is similar to asking questions to the endpoint in a SQL format. So if you all know about OS query, it's the same principle actually. So we can ask question to the endpoint and get information back from the endpoint. And the live response is basically taking a secure connection onto the endpoint for any kind of forensics related activity or doing your incident response, basically. All right. When it comes to prevention capabilities, we have the next generation antivirus, we have device control, and also host-based firewall. So if you see, these are all components in a single agent and that's why we categorize this as an EPP solution, because it has everything on a single agent. And then on the extended detection and response part, we have the EDR component and also a bit of NDR, which comes from uh, uh, we don't have what you say, a device connected to the network to gather this information. The agent itself is capable to capture some kind of network information. That would be network network analysis and visibility, and identity intelligence. So you can get the ENDR, so that would be EDR and NDR combined together. You can get that visibility as well. So the beauty about the solution is that you can pick and choose. So for example, if you only want the prevention capability, you can definitely go with that. Or if you are looking at just the EDR component, you can go with that. And or if you want the entire bundle, you can go with that. So you can, as a customer, you can pick and choose what is essential for your requirement, and it can really be tailored actually. And as I said, yeah, supports workloads, cloud, and endpoint environment. So we spoke about the next generation antivirus. So what the antivirus does is same like any other antivirus can basically do, is to stop malwares, fileless attacks, ransomwares, leaving off the LAN kind of attack. So towards the end, when you get into the demo, when I show you the policy configurations, it's totally different actually. The policies, you can see it is very much correlated to MITRE framework, and most of the components are specifically targeted to stop living off the LAN kind of attacks, where genuine tools are used to conduct abusive stuff actually. All right, example PowerShell, or what you say, command line, WMI, whatsoever. And there are a lot of out of the box prevention capabilities also. So out of the box, there are template policies which are already available, which can be modified and used, or even that template policies can be configured to the endpoint. It can give you a visibility on the entire kill chain. So even though on the antivirus component, if you know or if you have seen it, there is something called behavior EDR also. So behavior EDR basically comes from the antivirus, next generation antivirus capability. That is not same as the dedicated enterprise EDR. So it is just giving some behavior information, and from that you can actually see with the behavior EDR capability, you can actually see the entire kill chain. You will have the first level of analysis. So you know that there is an alert and you can actually see the kill chain. But if you want to do further investigation when it comes to threat hunting and incident response, the core capabilities of an enterprise EDR is actually required. So, and again, you can see that you can do a remote into the endpoint for immediate action. For example, you see uh, you do your analysis and you are seeing that there are some bad processes running on the system, and you know that it's really bad and you want to go ahead and terminate that. So for all those things, you can take a secure connection onto the endpoint. It can also be basically if you want to collect the artifacts, so you know that there is a file because of this activity was created on, for example, ctemp directory, and you want to collect or grab that file, you can do it from the remote shell connection which you are establishing to the endpoint. So, and then it's purely cloud native. We don't have an on-premise EPP. It is only cloud-based with a single agent and a single console for all the three pillars which I said. All right. And then beautiful automation and integration capability. So if you want to do some remediation capabilities by integrating it with the SOAR, or if you want to share some intelligence with a network device, all right, for example, you see some alerts on your endpoint, and you can see that there is a command and control connection established to an external IP or a domain, and if that needs to be blocked, you need to have an automation. You can do integration with network devices. So you have all those kind of integration capability, and it is through the open API what we are actually offering. Okay, so you have that capability. So that is the next generation antivirus. So when you see behavior EDR and EDR, don't get confused. Behavior EDR is part of the next generation antivirus. Enterprise EDR, that is a separate feature, which again is enabled on the same agent itself. All right. Now, live query, I spoke about live query. So basically what you can do is you can pull around 1,500 plus artifacts across your endpoint. So basically it is same like OS query. Okay, so uh, now assume a situation where there is a compromise in your environment and your Carbon Black you have the intelligence. So you see alerts and you have the intelligence, and you want to ask further questions to the endpoint. Like, for example, you want to ask the endpoint, hey, list me all the services running on your end. Okay, so you can pull that inventory, or maybe show what is the firewall status, or who is the user logged in. Is there a user logged in without a password? So multiple combinations of default queries are already there on Carbon Black Cloud. And if you want to have your custom queries created, it is just SQL scripts. If you're familiar with that, you can definitely go ahead and customize that as well. So you are basically asking questions to the endpoint in the event of an incident response to get more information out of the endpoint actually. Okay, and you can actually schedule these questions which you're actually asking. Okay, and these results which you're getting are filterable, which can be exported. You can also email the notifications if that is something as a requirement. So you run a live query and you can have that emailed to your mailbox actually. So if you are looking at that kind of things, so live query is basically just to make the your life easy, where you are asking questions to the endpoint. All right, similar concept of OS query. Now there is vulnerability management. So vulnerability management is with the same agent itself, you can get vulnerability information, and there is a scoring which is done based on risk. Okay, so that would tell you if there is a vulnerability found, and if the risk associated to that vulnerability is high, you will see a higher severity vulnerability displayed over there. So you can get vulnerability information out of the endpoints. Okay, so we don't do remediation. So when you see the vulnerability information, you can get more information about the CVE number and how to patch those vulnerability. You have those information actually provided, but we are not doing any kind of remediation over here, which where you have to depend on other tools. So we provide you vulnerability insights basically. Now, this is what is called the enterprise EDR. So again, behavior EDR and enterprise EDR are totally different. So it is within the same sensor itself, the functionality is there. So what we basically do is there are different bundles actually. So you will be seeing those bundles in the coming slide, and you can customize those bundles. So if the customer is having enterprise EDR, the additional capability, what you will be getting is third-party threat intelligence. Okay, and then there are a lot of customizable detection capabilities, and on top of that, you can really get into investigation. You can do your investigation if there are alerts. You do your investigation, and then you can really utilize the EDR capability. So with behavior EDR, you just see the kill chain, but if you are looking at further additional capabilities of a dedicated EDR, that is what is the enterprise EDR offering you. Enterprise EDR can be compared with the on-premise EDR. So if the customer is asking for an EDR on the cloud, it is enterprise EDR. And for on-premise, we call that as an on-premise EDR actually. So both offer similar capabilities, and enterprise EDR is again part of the Carbon Black Cloud on the same sensor actually. Now we come into the endpoint network detection and response. So I told you we are not using any device on a span port to gather network intelligence. The agent itself can collect network intelligence because during VMware days, where we had we had components from the NSX and last line, we integrated into the agent, and we are offering that capability for additional authentication events, or you can actually get you can instantly identify malicious network behaviors. Okay, so there are some additional capability purely related to network and identity information coming out of the NDR capability. So either you can have EDR, or if the customer want an ENDR, that is also something which we can actually offer. So it is again tailored. It is ENDR is not part of the bundle. When you come into the bundle section, you will see about that. But if they want to buy it as a standalone, it is definitely possible. They can buy the ENDR or EDR. I cannot definitely compare it with a very dedicated NDR vendors. Okay, so because yes, we won't be collecting information from network devices. So wherever the sensor can be installed, let that be on a Windows machine, on a Linux machine, or a Mac machine, between these things, if there are any network telemetry what we can capture in terms of behavior or in terms of identity, that is what we are doing. But if you ask me, can you capture network information from a network device? No, we cannot do that, because we are dependent on the agent. Wherever the agent can be installed, that's from where. So the agent acts like a sniffer. All right, so it sniffs the network behavior as well. Now, recently we have released something called Threat Tracer. Okay, so Threat Tracer is basically a visual graph based investigation tool. So earlier you had the investigation, so it was text based. So now more of a visual based tool which we are providing through Threat Tracer, which would make your threat hunting, incident response, triaging, or reporting much more easier. So the main benefit is that we are going to mapping relationship between processes, users, device, IPs, etc. actually. And that would really support threat hunting, incident response, triage, and reporting, as I told you. So you have a pictorial or a graphical representation of all the interested alerts what you are having. So you can go ahead and prepare your threat tracer reports with all the what you say interesting events what are coming in, and that would draw you a pictorial representation of all these correlations basically. Then there is host-based firewall. So same like a Windows firewall, which can be used for Carbon Black. So if there is a requirement for a host-based firewall, Carbon Black also do have that. All right, and it is a flexible rule-based enforcement. Then you can get additional network and application behavior information out of the firewall rules also. Okay, and if the Windows firewall is enabled, but if the Windows firewall is there, when you're going and enable Carbon Black firewall, that would automatically disable the Windows firewall on the environment, just assuming that is deployed on a Windows environment. All right, so we do have the host-based firewall capability as well. Now, Carbon Black's another beautiful capability is providing a managed services portal actually for managed service partners actually. So from the portal itself, as you can see in the screen, they have capability to basically, I'm sorry, log into their tenants. So it can be their customer tenants. You can go ahead and log into individual tenants. You can do the management for them actually. And it's a purely well-designed solution for MSSP support actually. Okay. Now there is some changes on how these can be added onto the MSSP console. There is some requirements in the background what needs to be done. Once that is we are compliant to that, you will have the capability to get all your customer tenants added to your MSSP portal, as well as you can open cases for them as well, okay, as an MSSP. Okay, so we can take it offline on what are the requirements if you have any questions related to that. Carbon Black Cloud, again, the integration capabilities are something which uh, makes Carbon Black Cloud, Carbon Black solutions as a whole stand out. So as I told you, if you want to integrate with a SIM solution and to have all the raw logs as well forwarded to a SIM, or if you want to integrate to a SOAR to basically run a playbook to automate your response capability, or if you want to integrate with any threat intelligence field, right, recorded future or virus total, Kena security, name it, you can go ahead and do that integration as well. And again, as I told you, if you want to share endpoint telemetry to network devices, you can do that also through API integration, so that it can be to Netscope, Zscaler, Palo Alto, you name it, different vendors. So the only requirement is the integrating vendor also should support API integration. As long as it is supported, it shouldn't be a matter actually. Okay, so you can integrate with different services. Now we are coming into the Carbon Black Cloud bundles. Okay, so as I told you, for Carbon Black Cloud, there are two types of flavor. One is an endpoint flavor, and another one is a workload flavor. So if a customer is just interested in the next generation antivirus, behavior, EDR, and device control, so they can actually go with the Carbon Black Foundation. So the foundation is the basic bundle what we have, where if the requirement is only a next generation antivirus with device control, that is something which can be positioned to the customer. Now, when it comes to the next bundle, which is called the advanced bundle, we have also the live query and vulnerability management information also. So the OS query capability, as well as getting vulnerability information and scoring it based on its risk value, is provided with the advanced bundle actually. I would actually suggest to most of the customers to go with the enterprise bundle, because with all these capabilities, we have the industry leading enterprise EDR also from Carbon Black, with which your threat hunting and incident response can basically be made much more easier actually. Okay, so you can do that. And if the customer don't want a bundle, if they just want standalone product, as I told you, the ENDR is there. So if they want to get the EDR and NDR together, they can just go with ENDR as standalone, or even the live query. If they just want to get the live query capability as standalone, they can do that. If they just want the EDR capability, they can do that. And the firewall is actually an add-on. You cannot buy it as a standalone. That will be an add-on to one of these bundles. So if the customer is having one of this bundle and later they are saying, hey, we want to add the firewall also, that would be an add-on to the existing bundles actually. Okay. So endpoint foundation bundle. So you can see that the antivirus is there, the behavior EDR is there. So if the customer is only requiring that, they can definitely go with that. Advanced bundle, again, we said that the additional components are vulnerability management and live query. That's what you're going to get. Enterprise is going to have the enterprise EDR. Okay, so that is the endpoint Carbon Black Cloud endpoint bundle. Now we are going to get into the workload bundles. So the workload bundle was basically made available during the VMware time. So the priority was to have integration with VMware vCenter. Okay, so with there are again three flavors of the workload bundle. One is the essential, advanced, and enterprise. Okay, now with the essential, if you can see over here, what is being offered is everything related to kind of integration with VMware or to any public cloud. So here it's AWS. It does not mean that we don't integrate with Azure or GCP. We can do that as well. So we have a vCenter plugin, and then the lifecycle management of the agent can completely be done. So which means that when you have the integration with vCenter, you can go ahead and install the Carbon Black Cloud agents as part of the VMware tools. So when you install the VMware tool, the Carbon Black Cloud sensor can also be deployed. So the installation is taken care. You can do the upgrades also through this actually. So the entire life cycle management of the agent is basically taken care. So that would be installation, upgrade, and even uninstallation or removal. Asset inventory. So when you do the integration with, giving you an example, as with vCenter, you can get all the asset information from that particular vCenter listed onto Carbon Black Cloud. Okay, so that is another thing what you would be getting. Again, you are going to get vulnerability management. That is similar thing what we understood from the endpoint bundle. The same thing, understanding the vulnerability and providing you a risk-based score of every vulnerability is what we are going to offer. And then audit and remediation. That is again live query, live response, all those things which we spoke about. When we come into the advanced bundle, all these things are there, plus the next generation antivirus and behavior EDR. So that is something the customer can pick. If they are not looking at a dedicated EDR, just want to have an antivirus with behavior EDR capabilities, you can offer the advanced. But again, preferred one is going to be the workload enterprise, which is having the entire stack, including the enterprise EDR actually. All right. So you have, you can get the entire benefits out of the workload bundle, including antivirus capability and EDR with the workload enterprise. So now maybe you might have always had a confusion like what is this endpoint, what is this workload. So workloads are for basically for server. If they are predominantly on VMware, they want to use this product for their server environment or workloads. This workload bundle is what definitely needs to be positioned over here. So essentials we have seen, yes, vCenter plugin. So basically on the vCenter, you will see a Carbon Black plugin. So when you click on that, you would see a lot of options related to the endpoints and different things basically. So you can get that plugin is only available when you're getting in, when you're having the workload. All right. Again, all these things we discussed, vulnerability management, asset information, inventory, all those things which you're getting. And with the advanced bundle, yes, these are the two additional things which you're going to get. And with the enterprise EDR is what you're going to get. Now, coming into the Carbon Black Cloud workload infrastructure, I want to highlight over here, how do you get the integration to the vCenter? So there is something like a Carbon Black workload appliance. So we have to basically install the workload appliance on the vCenter actually, okay, on the vSphere environment. And that appliance is what is taking care of the integration between the vSphere and the Carbon Black cloud. Okay, so once you have this appliance installed and integrated with vCenter, from the vSphere, you can basically see a vCenter plugin dedicated to Carbon Black. So that is what you're going to see. So that is the Carbon Black plugin, which you will be seeing on the vCenter, from where, again, as I told you, while you deploy the VMware tools itself, you can have the sensors deployed on all the virtual machines as part of that vCenter. So all these things can be automated, but again, the mandatory thing is to have the workload appliance deployed. You won't get this capability with the endpoint. This is dedicated to the workload. Another thing, what is going to be dedicated to workloads are the sensor gateway appliance. Now, sensor gateway appliance is basically an aggregator. If you don't want the sensors to directly talk to the Carbon Black cloud, you can have an aggregator coming in between, which will be connecting to the Carbon Black cloud. So you will not have the sensors directly talking to the cloud. It would be the workload appliance what is going to talk to the Carbon Black cloud, multi-directional actually. So you can see over here, it's again OVA file actually, which you can deploy, and that aggregates the entire sensor traffic. So again, there is a authentication between the sensor and the sensor gateway. It can be scaled. It can be scalable up to 10,000 sensors. So you can have multiple sensor gateways basically deployed to do this aggregation thing in your environment, if that is a requirement. Okay. Some customers definitely ask that because they don't want to constrain their bandwidth. Maybe they don't want all the sensors to talk to the cloud. So they need to have an aggregator, which we do have. And again, only part of the workload bundle. All right. So now, before I jump into the Q&A, let me get into the interface of Carbon Black Cloud. So we are going to have a very quick demo over here on the Carbon Black Cloud. Kalman, is my lab accessible? Can you see it?
Yes, I see, but please zoom in into the web interface because the resolution is high and I am not sure that everybody see the content. Let's try to zoom in the browser,
okay.
on the browser level. It's very nice, yes.
It's better? All right, cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So this is the Carbon Black Cloud console. So when you purchase the Carbon Black Cloud solution, you will be getting an email from Broadcom with the URL to access and also the initial credentials to log into the Carbon Black Cloud console. And once you log in to the Carbon Black Cloud console, if you click over here, that's where you basically see what all licenses are enabled. So for me, if you can quickly see over here, I do have a workload enterprise bundle, okay, as part of my lab. And I also have the ENDR actually enabled over here. So I do have the entire thing, which gives me capability to integrate with the vCenter. And also I do have vulnerability information. This is called XDR. It will be renamed shortly to ENDR. So that is the ENDR component. And then this is enterprise EDR. This is the endpoint standard. Now it has to be renamed to foundation, which is being done. So foundation is basically antivirus, device control, and behavior EDR. So you have all these things. Again, audit remediation with which I can do live query and live response. Okay, so I do have the entire stack. I don't have the host-based firewall over here. Now, again, you can also see that there are some sections for container. So Carbon Black container security is end of sale. So we are not positioning this to customers. It is end of sale. The same way we are not going to position managed detection services from Carbon Black because we do prefer our partners to do managed services for their customers. So as a vendor, we will not be offering all these managed service capability. So it would be removed in the coming releases actually, which all things are not applicable. Okay. So when you get into the console, you come into the heads up display where you can see your endpoint related status, You can see your workload related status. So if there is an integration with the vCenter, you can actually see the workload related information. So you can see that the VMware tool, whether it's updates. So as I told you, if once you have the sensor, the workload appliance integrated with vCenter and Carbon Black Cloud, you can definitely install the agent as part of the VMware tools also. Now, if there are any malicious activity found, you can get the information about the action over here. Let that be a suspected malware, known malware whatsoever. So you get this information over here. And if there are any prevention which is being done, you have the information here as well. Again, vulnerability. If you find a vulnerability, you can get the information over here. I'm not going to click on this because I will be deep diving into individual sections, and we will definitely come into that shortly. So you have all this information, what you see on the heads up display actually, and you also get what are the top alerted processes which you are seeing, where alerts are coming in, and what are your assets. And you are also seeing what are all the threat. So you see a threat report which is available, which is frequently being refreshed, and you can see about the latest threats in the wild actually, which has been used to exploit stuff. All right. Then the triage page is where, so you have notifications over here. So now you can see that the threat tracer feature, which I told you, where you get a visual representation of processors, users, IP, you get that complete correlation through threat tracer that is recently released. If there is any sensor upgrades which are required, any news, any bulletins, everything is basically seen on the notification part. Now, whenever there is an alert generated as part of the alert triage, so you should be basically getting it over here. So these are different alerts which I have on my machine. So you basically come over here, and if you want to do your further investigation, or if you want to get into the alert triage, you can go ahead and click over here, which would give you a process tree view of what basically happening. Okay. Now, this is very similar to people who have already seen the Carbon Black on-premise EDR. So you get the entire information over here with the, what you say on the right side, with the, what you say, the metadata. You have the metadata, you have the command, what got executed, you have what is the message, alert history you actually get. Okay, if there is any reputation, if threat intelligence which is being triggered, you actually get information on that as well. All right, now if you want to do your investigation on this, you can further go ahead and deep dive on the investigation part, and you can see that there are some attempts, basically some enumeration process attempts and some PowerShell calling. Maybe it might not be completely genuine, all right, because on my policy I have made sure that I've hardened anything from tools which can do living off the land kind of attacks. I would write, I am not executing that. So anything what PowerShell is trying to, if it is trying to call another process, everything is basically being terminated. So that's where you basically come and do your what you say investigation further into the alerts. And you can actually see on the left side there are different observations over here. Okay, in the observations you can also see TTP, the TTP information. So if you want to specifically get on anything, so if you're seeing, like for example, what is this fileless TTP, what is being done over here, it is basically gonna be what do you say, let me just open this up. It's going to be the command which is run on the PowerShell. So when there is a command which is being run on PowerShell, that's going to be a fileless thing. Okay, so that would be tracked over here, and same way. So you get a lot of TTPs over here. And if another TTP is that if there is a tamper detection coming on for the agent, so for example, someone is trying to stop the agent or play with the agent service itself, the sensor service itself, you can get a TTP over here called modify sensor TTP. So you have different TTPs associated over here, and you can go ahead and get much better information about this. You can do your investigation over here. Okay. Now that is particularly related to this process, PowerShell process, what it is done. So if I click on that, that would basically give me idea on, yes, that would give me. So towards the bottom, you are seeing the entire raw log of what really went through. Okay. So if it is trying to do a module loading, or if it is trying to call a cross process, or if there is a network connection going outside, so that is the net call. So if you see a command and control going callback going back, you basically get it under the netcon, where you will see the IP address, you will see the domain associated to that, and what is the attack tactic which is being used. So if you see, most of the things are already mapped to MITRE actually, MITRE attack tactics actually. Okay. So that you would be seeing it from the so this is all capabilities, additional capabilities, what you are getting out of the enterprise EDR. Now if you're only looking at the behavior EDR, you cannot get all these particular, what you say, the raw log information, or much more things like for helping you out in doing the investigation part. You are not going to get it. Okay. So from here, from the investigation itself, if I want to do a find in virus total, whether this process is good or bad, I can go ahead and do that. I can do my banning. I can quarantine the asset also. So if I want to do a quarantining of the asset, I can do that, which means that the sensor only will be communicating to the Carbon Black cloud at that given point of time. All right. If you're doing, and all the other network communication within the network is actually stopped. So you can see all these different things over here. And now coming into live query, which we spoke about, I know that people who have attended my on-premise EDR session, they might have seen similar things actually. So this is the same thing. It's the principle of OS query. That is what you see over here. By default, we have around 138 queries over here. And if you want to go ahead and build your own custom query, that's up to you. So give it in a SQL format. If you go to Carbon Black query exchange page, there are a lot of custom queries which are already listed over here. And we are really enhancing on adding more beneficial queries to both our on-premise as well as cloud EDR actually. So we are doing this as part of our roadmap. So giving you some of these things, for example, if I'm coming to threat hunting, if you want to specifically look for some vulnerability information, or if you want to see what are the failed RDP logins, or if you want to see what are the running processes, so on. So you get everything uh, from the single console, rather than depending on multiple tools to get this information. You can get most of the things from Carbon Black Cloud itself. So assume that you have alerts, you want to list the process, or you want to see any RDP sessions on that particular machine. You can go ahead and run all these queries from within the live query capability of Carbon Black. Now you would also see watch list. So now watch lists are basically custom queries which runs on the data what we have gathered for doing proactive threat hunting in your environment. So assume that you have advisories providing you IOC information. You can go ahead and create your own watch list also, and make sure that these IOCs are not present in your environment. So you're doing proactive threat hunting. So here I have a lot of by default listed threat intelligence feeds which are available, and you can also go ahead and add your custom watch list as well. So in any watch list, like you can go ahead and add that to your list. You build your custom watch list or whatever is publicly available. For example, if you go to the GitHub page of Carbon Black, you can see a lot of watch lists which is already listed over there, which are some of them are really beneficial to be added. So you can go ahead and add the watch list, which will help you in doing proactive threat hunting. Now, when you're coming into the policies, these are very simple policies for the next generation antivirus. So as I told you, there are few default policies which is already available. One is monitored, standard, and advanced. So in monitored, it's everything in a bypass mode. There is not too much action which is taking. So you can see that there is no prevention. So you can basically start from there and then slowly get into the standard mode. So I would ideally recommend for most of the customer, the standard mode is really what you say, well configured, okay, to reduce false positives. So that is from where you can actually start. And then there is an advanced mode for mainly if you want really strict environment, you want to really have strict enforced policies, you can go ahead and do that. So if you click on the standard, it's pretty simple actually how the policies are configured over here. Now you get into a prevention policies, and you can basically see that most of the things are basically mapped based uh, on MITRE framework or MITRE attack framework actually. So you can see privilege escalation, persistence, defense evasion, credential threats, so on and so forth. And then you can go ahead and add whether it has to be alerted or blocked. And if there is any false positives listed, you can go ahead and add your exclusions as well. You can also allow specific operations to bypass. So if you want to give like a whitelist of any file path, you can go ahead and do that. So definitely there would be requirements for when on an antivirus to have some kind of whitelist to be maintained, like a path exclusion or process exclusion. You can go ahead and do that. And the third component is the operation attempt, where you are basically getting into processes. So here you are actually getting into known malware, what you have to do with a known malware. So what is the task? You want to terminate it. So you have a lot of capability to go ahead and customize it based on your requirement actually. But I would say that the initial thing to start would be a standard policy, and it is pretty well configured to reduce false positive. So the same way that, so if you see that if there is a suspected malware, what should be the action related to that? Okay, you can have runs on, so you can configure a policy and you can run the policy, simulate the policy and run it to see how the behavior will be there in your environment. So you can do that also before a policy is being applied to your environment. So you're testing this rule actually, test rule, and you can basically see what is happening. And if you're seeing any kind of false positives, you can go ahead and give those kind of exclusions, as I mentioned earlier. And then applications. Okay, so if you want to whitelist some applications from these kind of behaviors, you can go ahead and do that. Again, USB controls. So this is the device control capability what we have, where you can control USBs based on its serial number. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. If there is any path which upload path which needs a deny or an allow capability, you can go ahead and do that. So these are different capabilities of the antivirus. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And then you're basically getting into the scan settings, where you can have on access scan, your signature updates. So now we are taking signature updates from the GIN actually. So earlier we used to depend on another solution provider, but now we are taking it from the GIN. So we have the combined threat intelligence coming in actually. And then your sensor setting, how your sensor has to behave, how should a background scan needs to be run, what are all the events which has to be captured. So for example, if you want to ignore some events, you can go ahead and do that. And then there are dedicated settings for VDI clones also, okay, especially for horizon environment, or if you are having an environment which is basically you're utilizing cloning, you can go ahead and enable that for better managing of the cloned environment actually. Then you come into reputation services. What you see over here is what is the ban file in your environment, what are the approved files in your environment. You have this entire list over here, which is shown. And then malware removal is there. So if there is any malware which is found and which has been detected or deleted, you basically get this information over here. And then there is cloud analysis also. So as you know that we are working on having cloud sandbox as well, which will be shortly coming on the solution. All right, so that is on the roadmap. So you have that capability also coming in, where we will be first doing a cloud sandboxing to you before the files basically come into your environment. Okay. Now, again, there are some options over here which you will not see if you are having just the endpoint. For example, CIS benchmark. This is something related to workloads. So if you want to know how your server is basically, is your server basically configured as per CIS benchmarks, you can go ahead and get this information from here. Again, specifically part of the workload bundle. And then you have the vulnerability information over here. So this is basically the vulnerability, what you see. So I have a vulnerability on my machine, and that's a critical vulnerability. All right. And that is why so if you see that the scoring is based done on the risk value actually. So it's pretty critical over here. And I can get the CV information about this vulnerability. So click on that. That will take you to the CV information and give me information on how I have to patch that particular vulnerability. So that is applicable to both endpoints and workloads. For example, if I take the agent and, for example, installing on my laptop also, I do get this vulnerability information capability because I do have that as part of my bundle actually. All right. Now you are coming into the inventory. We do have the asset groups. Okay. So you have endpoints and you have asset groups. So you get all information about your endpoints over here. You get information about any USB which is connected over here. And if you have the VMware integration, you can basically get information out of your vCenter. So basically the asset inventory for the workload, which is one of the capability, you can definitely leverage that, where all the assets from your vCenter environment is basically pulled over here. Okay, so that is not only applicable to VMware, you can have it for cloud workloads also, like AWS, Azure, GCP. If you want to have that inventories coming in, again, the license requirement is to be on workload bundle. All right. Now you have general information over here. Again, these components, few components over here has to be removed, which would be done. And that is where you play with the APIs. You want to integrate with a network device, you want to integrate with a SOAR, you want to integrate SIM or threat intelligence, whatever, go ahead and do that through the API integration capability of Carbon Black. All right. Then you get your audit logs over here on what basically the user logged in, so on and so forth. It can be integrated with SAML and federated authorities. And then, as I told you, if you are an MSSP partner, you should have the capability to manage your tenants from within your MSP console as well. All right. So that is a pretty quick overview on how Carbon Black Cloud is. So as I've made it clear, it is a endpoint protection platform with two different flavors of endpoints and workloads. Workload can be positioned when predominantly it is a server environment, especially on VMware or any other public cloud environment where you want to do your management, where you want to see all the workloads coming in, where you want to deploy the sensors to the servers. That would be the workload bundle. And then you have the endpoint bundle, where if customer is predominantly just trying to install on their endpoints, you can go ahead and position that based on what is the requirement. All right, so with that, I come to a conclusion, and now I will leave the platform open for all the question answers. I'll try my best to answer it, and if I'm not able to answer it right now, I'll make sure that we get back to you shortly with information on that. Kalman, can we get into the questions?
Yes, we can
Okay, so let
get the
me see.
questions. Can you please open the chat window, because a lot of
Yeah,
questions came. The first question
I
was
have,
about the competition, but because this is a public webinar and
yeah,
this information requires a signed NDA, we cannot talk about the competitive information. But then you will see additional question. I believe you can
sure,
answer to that.
I'm checking. From Gate, I have a question. You say the NDR don't use a span port to collect traffic from switch. The NDR using agent to collect the traffic. Can you explain that in more? So the agent during the VMware days had NSX and last line components added to the agent. All right. That is why we are able to get IDS observations and network related stuff. So network signatures, network behaviors, it comes from the agent. But the downfall over here is that the agents acts like the sniffer. We don't have a device which gives us network telemetry. If you are missing agents on the endpoints, then yes, that would be a downfall. That's why I said we cannot have a neck-to-neck comparison or apple-to-apple comparison with a dedicated NDR vendor who has different devices maybe to capture network telemetry from their network devices and complete environment. We don't get over there. We use the sensor. The sensor itself can gather different network telemetry. We can take it offline. I can basically share you my email address also. I can tell you what all things as part of the NDR we are capturing. So we can capture quite a lot of things when it comes to the entire front. So I will install agents in all network devices to collect traffic. It won't be network devices. You are installing it on your endpoints, basically, which compromises on Windows, Linux, or Mac. So you don't install it on a network device, and you cannot. For example, today you're asking me, can you collect information from a Cisco router? No, I can't do that, because wherever my agent can be installed, yes, that's where I can benefit from that capability. All right. Do you need workload appliance to deploy vCenter plugin? Yes, absolutely. You would require the workload appliance to deploy the vCenter plugin. So once you have the workload appliance deployed, and you do the integration with your vCenter and the Carbon Black Cloud, you will be seeing a vCenter plugin. You will be seeing a Carbon Black plugin on your vCenter, actually. Okay, so for that to come in, and to do all the lifecycle management of the agent, including installation, uninstallation, all those things which you're asking, that would definitely require the workload appliance. Okay, that's a mandatory thing. There are too many bundles and they are confusing, don't you think? Isn't Broadcom planning to reduce them completely and leave that? That's a good question, Sevek. If you would have seen the bundles during VMware days, maybe yeah, I was confused. I never understood all the bundles. Broadcom has really made the bundle. They have streamlined the bundles. They have made it really narrow. All right. Earlier, all these things had multiple SKUs, and it was totally confusion. So I have to say that Broadcom has really worked on it, and we have the SKUs really reduced. Okay. So yeah, that's my response to it. They have done it, and it's really reduced. I know that sometimes it can be confusing, but hey, just keep in mind that just two flavors, endpoint and workload. Workload, as I told you, predominantly when it comes to servers, and endpoints when it comes to desktops. All right. It does not mean that I cannot take a endpoint agent and install on 10 servers. No problem. As long as my operating system is supported, there is no problem. But if you want to get the capability of the workload, where you want to have the vCenter, vCenter plugin coming in, and asset inventory, and the different things which I've told you, yes, that would definitely require a workload bundle. When you say workload, are you talking about servers? Yes, I'm talking about servers. So you might have seen, yeah, right? So the main thing is workload came in when Carbon Black was part of VMware. They initiated it to integrate with VMware. Okay, so if you see any other products from Carbon Black, let that be the application control or on-premise EDR or Carbon Black endpoint, we still don't have too much capability to do integration. There are a lot of customers asking, hey, you were part of VMware, do you have this integration? Yes, we do have, but for that you need to have the workload bundle. It's mandatory. Okay, and when I talk about workload, yes, that is going to be sensors. That is going to be servers. In the case when the customer requires OS level security for most critical servers, do you think app control would be suitable? We are currently proposing PAM server control, but I think Carbon Black app control can also be solution. Absolutely. When you look at Carbon Black Cloud, it's an endpoint protection platform. It is good for known bad things, and it also does behavior stuff and everything. So if there is an EPP solution, there should never be a breach. I cannot argue that way, right? So app control maintains positive security. We make sure that the OS is hardened, and we are only allowing certain applications which are essential to run in the environment. Remaining everything is bad for me. So when I say an EPP is good for known bad things, and app control is good for known bad, it's good for unknown bad, you name it, everything. Because anything which is not explicitly allowed is bad for me. Let that be a genuine software also, we really don't care. That is where the beauty of app control comes in, where you're reducing the attack surface. So yes, definitely when it comes to OS hardening, it is not only the EPP. There are EPP vendors also who do have application control as part of the EPP. But when you come back to my console over here, I showed you, so you come over here, yes, I can also do a bit of application control, but that is basically gonna be very specific to blacklisting. Okay, if I want to blacklist an application, so today my organization is telling, hey, I have 50 applications, these applications should not run in my environment, I can do that, there is no problem. From an EPP I can do that, but a dedicated application whitelisting tool is required for you to harden your OS. Okay, so that I would definitely suggest to have app control along with an EPP if it is a critical asset in your environment and if you want to protect it. Okay, I hope you have answered your question. The next question is, what is the link for the console from the Frankfurt? Okay, let me share that on the chat. Just give me a second over here. I will share that on the chat. Okay. So, yes, your answer.
But meanwhile, you are searching for the link, a question that the company basically released the link for the management console, right? If you choose if you order the right SKU, because the SKU determine the data center, so then the company or the license team release the right link.
Absolutely. So
Uh-huh.
basically, when you in our region, we normally provision it from the European region, which is Frankfurt nearby. So whenever it's provisioned from Frankfurt, it's going to be defense-EU. If it has been provisioned from US, it is going to be prod 05. So there is a different URL. So based on where the services are provisioned, they will be getting an email with the URL, the access URL, and the initial credentials to log into the console. Once they log into the console, they can go ahead and add different users to have access to the console, basically. All right. So does that answer the question? Okay. So I have actually put the URL on the chat. So that is defense.eu config deploy.dat. That is specifically for Frankfurt. All right. Now, do the workload bundles product only work with VMware software? No, not really. Okay. You can get the additional benefit of the integration with VMware if you are having the workload bundle. It does not, as I told you, I have highlighted that it can be integrated with public cloud also. Like if you want to onboard your AWS account, you can go ahead and do that with workload bundle. But it also has the additional capability of vCenter plugin and the different things which I have told you as part of the VMware integration. All right. So you can. It does not mean that it only works on VMware. You can have the same. It is the same agent basically, but licensed differently with different capabilities. You can take the same agent and install on a Linux machine, which is maybe your desktop or a Windows machine. Doesn't mind. As long as the connectivity is there back to this console, shouldn't be a problem. Two things exclusive for workload: the workload appliance and the sensor gateway. Workload appliance is used for integration with the vCenter, and the sensor gateway is the aggregator appliance sitting in between for sensor communication. If the sensors don't need to talk to the cloud directly, it can go through this aggregator, but both dedicated to workload. Yes, we can share the. It is available on your. If you are from the partner side, it is available on the partner portal. We can definitely share the slide. It's not a problem.
Just a background information that not all partners can access to the partner portal. So in the background, I sent you an email with guide, full name and email address, and in the background, you can discuss with each other how you can share the slides. And naturally, because no other question came, I share my contact information. So you see on the webcam view. Feel free to read. This QR code is safe. So if you have any additional question, you need a presentation, or you need a one-on-one consultation, then feel free to contact with me, and I can connect you to Danny John, or I can help you directly. It's depending on the question. Danny, feel free to continue. Just
So
additional information.
that's it. That's it from my side. If you want any any competitive intelligence. As Kalman said, this is a public presentation. We cannot put it here. If you have the NDA, we can definitely help you with competitive intelligence. We can also help. There are 2 copies of it, which we have, one for partner and one for customer shareable competitive intelligence. So if there is a requirement, we can share you this copy, but yes, not on this webinar. You can reach out to us separately, one-on-one, and we will be more than happy to help you out. In case you have a demo or you want to pull me into a presentation or you want to know anything, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will be more than happy to support our partners and customers. All right, so that's about it from my side.
Thank you very much, Danny. If you have any question, please type. We'll wait approximately 5 seconds. Okay, because no additional question arrived, we close the session now. In the next few days, we will release the recorded version of this session. Danny, thanks for your presentation.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
the
much.
attention. Thanks for the attention on the audience side. I hope the delivered content was useful. Have a nice day, and see you on the next webinar in September, as we planned.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.